Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for tuning in for our live stream from the North Carolina Aquarium at Fort Fisher. My name's Morgan. I'm the virtual programs coordinator here, and I am going to be talking to you today about the weirdest, wildest, most amazing life cycle in the ocean that I know about, the life cycle of none other than our own moon jelly. That's right, our moon jelly is a beloved animal of visitors here at our aquarium and beloved by some of our other animals here too. And this moon jelly is one of the biggest ones we are caring for at our aquarium right now. This moon jelly grew up here in our care, and jellies like this one start their life kind of like frogs, like birds, like fish. That's right, they start their life in an egg drifting around in the ocean. But you're not going to believe what happens next because they go through a ton of transformations. And if you have jellyfish questions, drop them in the comments. I'll be answering them all throughout the stream. Do we have any questions before we see the first big transformation for this little moon jelly?
Not yet.
Well, when a moon jelly hatches out of an egg, they start out as a planula. That is the fancy term for a larval jellyfish. Definitely not this big, but they look kind of about like this, like a weird hair-covered bacteria. They are microscopic, drifting around at the whims of the currents in the ocean until they run into a hard surface. Because while we think about jellyfish as being free drifting animals floating around through the waters, they start out on a rock or on a piece of coral, or maybe even on another animal's shell. Now, the next phase of their life cycle is another big transformation. They're still not going to look like the jellyfish you might see here or might see at the beach. Let's take a look. I'll actually transform myself into our next stage of the jellyfish life cycle. If you've got jelly experiences, jelly stories, jelly questions, drop them in the comments. And thank you for everyone who's just joining us here on the live stream today. Ready?
We actually had a question. Sophia asked, what do they eat?
Sophia, that's a great question. So at any stage of their life cycle, jellies are going to be grabbing and eating small drifting animals in the ocean. And our moon jellies, as adults and as younger stages, like the polyp stage that I am being right now, are going to use their long oral arms, the feeding tentacles, to grab onto fish eggs, tiny, tiny, smaller larval animals, and also little animals like brine shrimp. In the polyp stage, it almost looks like an upside-down jellyfish. We might think this looks like a jellyfish shape, but the polyp is growing up away from the surface they attached to. They've got kind of a sea anemone-like shape. They look like those body shapes. They have the tentacles for stinging, for grabbing food, but they're very, very small. And when they're in this stage on a shell, maybe on the back of a sea turtle, maybe on a hard rock or a piece of coral, they're focused on eating and growing and eating and growing. And as they eat and grow, they're going to go through one more major transformation. Our polyp stage of the jelly life cycle is going to start dividing. It will grow segments off the top and get taller and taller and taller, and finally, when some cue in the environment tells our polyp that it is time, it's going to split. So one little piece will come off the top of the polyp and begin to drift in the ocean, and that piece becomes its own independent jellyfish. And then the next one's going to pinch off and split and begin to drift, complete with tentacles. It looks like a teeny tiny version of the adult jelly. And it'll drift off, and they'll keep splitting and splitting and splitting until they're all done. But the polyp stays where it is, and it's going to go back to growing and eating and growing and eating. Meanwhile, all of those little jellies are going to grow into big adult Medusa jellyfish, the ones we're used to seeing. And those Medusa are going to live for a pretty short amount of time. They just don't have a long lifespan most of the time. Our moon jellies live for about 1 to 2 years in human care, but in the wild, they may only live for a couple of months or seasonally as temperatures and other factors in the ocean are changing. Now that polyp, though, the polyp is going to live sometimes for as many as 25 years. And that whole time, it'll be growing and dividing and growing and dividing and making all kinds of new jellyfish.
We have a question from Sandy. She asked, how long does it take to take an egg to hatch?
Sandy, that is a great question, and you have the first one that's completely stumped me today. That's something I'm not sure of, and I'm going to have to look it up later.
Yeah, we can look that up, and we'll put it in the comments later after this video.
Great question.
And someone asked, do jellyfish have a brain?
They do not. Let's take another look at our moon jelly here and see what we can see. So this moon jelly has no brain, and no jellyfish are going to have brains to control their body's movements. Instead, they have a really loose network of nerves throughout the body that are kind of working together, but they don't have a central command system for their nerves the way that our brain works. Now, the things we can see in the middle of this jelly's body, if we come around over to this side, you can see a very faint 4-leaf clover pattern in the middle of the jelly. A little bit orangish, a little bit yellowish. That is the main inside part of the jelly. That is called the gastrovascular cavity. So that is both where they are pumping water throughout their body to move nutrients and energy, and where they are bringing in their food to digest it. So it's like a stomach and a heart all in one. And the little pale coloration you can see in there is some partially digested moon jelly breakfast. That would be very, very small, young, immature brine shrimp that our moon jelly has eaten today. Have we got any more questions in the comments so far, Zach?
No, that covers all our questions.
Awesome. Well, it's not too late. If you want to know more things about jellies, please ask away. Jellies are, as I mentioned, very popular with our staff and our visitors at the North Carolina Aquarium at Fort Fisher, but they're also a really important animal in the ocean to lots of other animals we are big fans of. Jellies are a really important food source for sea turtles and a whole bunch of other exciting ocean animals. So we need them to play their role, even if we maybe don't want to run into them while we're swimming in the ocean. And we can help protect the ocean for jellies and for other animals by making sure there's nothing in it that is not supposed to be food. One problem sea turtles often have is it's easy for them to confuse pieces of plastic, like plastic bags, with a jellyfish who's drifting around in the ocean and is also see-through and also moves in weird ways with the current. So keeping plastic out of oceans helps protect animals. And we can keep plastic from becoming a big problem by reducing our use of single-use plastics, opting for reusable bags or reusable bottles, or just finding other single-use plastics that we don't need very much and cutting them out completely. Another great thing you can do with friends and family is you can also do a trash cleanup, because trash wherever you are is going to end up in the river, and the river is going to bring it to the ocean where all of our animals are found. See-through hairs, those are the stinging tentacles on the moon jelly. And they are so short and their sting is so mild that it's not really something that people can feel. In general, as kind of a guideline with jellyfish, the longer the tentacles, the stronger and more painful the sting is. But not all of them have a sting that is painful to people. They do all use that sting to catch their food, though, so it's a very important thing to the jelly.
And Sophia asked, wouldn't the sting hurt the sea turtles?
That's a great question, Sophia. Sea turtles have special adaptations that help them to eat jellies successfully. So they have these things in their throat that are modified taste buds called papillae. They look really weird if you find a picture of them on the internet. And they all point back towards the sea turtle's stomach. They are very resistant to the sting of a jellyfish, so it's not going to bother the sea turtle. And they also help to keep the jellyfish going in the right direction so the jellyfish doesn't float back out of the sea turtle's mouth. All right. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We appreciate you spending time with us and our animals here at the North Carolina Aquarium at Fort Fisher. And if you'd like to visit us in person, you can make advanced reservations online to come to our building. Make sure you do make them a little bit in advance because we are selling out most days this summer, but we would love to see you in person or see you again online the next time we have a live stream. Hope you will have a wonderful day.